There's a pretty one, Ulysses. There it is.
Hello, BookTube. I'm Shawn the Book Maniac. Welcome back to my channel, and I'm here with a very honorable guest to talk about a really exciting development in the literary world. Please welcome Alex Skoczylas, the CEO of the Carol Shields Foundation, which is the foundation behind the new hottest literary prize on the block, inaugurating this year the Carol Shields Prize for Fiction. Alex, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Shawn. I'm really delighted to be here this morning.
It's so great to meet you, and I want to share with my viewers some information about this prize and get the word out there. The Longlist dropped on International Women's Day, March 8th, and it is a big purse for an underrepresented, in terms of literary prizes, an underrepresented demographic. So can you give us an elevator pitch for what the prize is all about?
Absolutely. Although you've given us a great start, Shawn, thank you. Yeah, the Carol Shields Prize for Fiction is the world's largest prize for women and non-binary writers. It's a prize for literary fiction for women and non-binary writers from Canada and the United States. As Shawn mentioned, the long list of 15 books came out on March the 8th, International Women's Day. We'll be announcing a short list on April the 6th, and the winner will be announced on May the 4th in Nashville, Tennessee.
May the 4th be with you. And Nashville. Okay, now I have to ask, why Nashville?
Nashville, because we're going to be at Ann Patchett's bookstore, the famed American writer. Yeah.
Okay.
So we will be hosting a live streamed event from her bookstore, which is called Parnassus. So about 100 people in the room, but we are hoping to have an international audience on live stream, and hopefully your viewers will be with us.
I certainly will. That's fantastic. I will be talking about the long list at the end of the video, so stay tuned for that, but we have lots of other important things to talk about. So why is this called, I know why this is called the Carol Shields Prize, but some of my viewers may not. Tell us about Carol Shields.
Absolutely. Carol Shields was an amazing writer. She wrote more than 20 books, novels, poetry collections, a wide range of writing. And she represents the prize. Well, first of all, because she's an amazing writer. She won a Pulitzer Prize and was just a lauded writer, well loved in Canada for sure. She was born in Oak Park, Illinois, and moved to Canada and spent most of her adult life in Canada. So she represents that dual nature, the two sides of the prize, the American and the Canadian side. And she wrote about women. So that makes her really a great representative for the prize.
Absolutely. And I think I have autographed copies of almost all of the books she ever put out. She was one of my favorite writers when I was young, and I met her at several readings. I don't mean to pretend that we were friends, but she was so darn friendly and warm every time I would meet her. I just loved her.
Yeah. Everyone talks about her that way, Shawn. I didn't meet her, but everybody talks about her that way.
She did so many wonderful interviews with Eleanor Wachtel, the CBC book journalist, and none of them are available on the internet anymore, or only maybe one. And I just remember how much I would just sink into her lovely voice and the way she talked about her writing and the writing of others. So yeah, she's an important writer.
And Shawn, the other thing I just wanted to mention is that one of the quotes that has resonated with us here at the prize and with our founders is that quote that she said, "I'm interested in writing away the invisibility of women's lives." And so that one, I just wanted to bring that quote forward because it really is, again, representative of how she wrote, and what she thought, and why she's a great representative for the prize.
I love that quote so much. I'm so glad you included it here. So tell us how this prize got off the ground.
The Carol Shields Prize for Fiction got off the ground about 11 years ago, in 2012 at the Vancouver Writers Fest. There was a panel, the Canadian connection, I love it. There was a panel at the festival that was to speak about the progress of women in the literary world over 40 years. And one of our co-founders, the writer Susan Swan, was to be on that panel, and she excitedly, got to work at looking at the statistics and pulling data and to understand, so she could proudly talk about the progress that women had made. And of course, it was quickly discovered that that was in fact not the case. And so this panel discussion really addressed that, talked about it. On that day at the Vancouver Writers Fest, in the audience was Janice Swerbany, another one of our co-founders. Janice is an editor, a really talented book editor, and she was in the audience. And afterwards, she said, you know, Susan, let's start a prize. And Susan said, well, if you do, I'm with you. So that's how it got started. I think that was on a Thursday, and by Monday there was an article in the Globe and Mail saying the prize is happening. This, you know. And our third co-founder, Don Oravec, at the time, he was the executive director at the Writers Trust. He read the article and said, let me join in and help. I want to make this happen. So the three of them got together and made the prize happen. So it's been, it's really a thrilling day for the three of them, Shawn, because they've been waiting, you know, almost a dozen years for this. So yeah, it's a big deal.
What are the parameters for who can qualify, who can be nominated for the prize, geographical and otherwise?
Yeah, so the prize is for Canadian and American women and non-binary writers. And, you know, that piece around Canadian and American really came out of the data that was collected back in 2012 when they were talking on the panel. So that's really the reason why it started to be both countries, which I think is great because it means it supports a really, really wide group of women and non-binary writers across both countries. So that's fantastic. So it's for novels, graphic novels, short stories, which are all represented actually on the long list, which I know you're going to talk about later, which is great.
And how about the publication? It has to be published in last year.
Thank you.
By a Canadian or American publisher. Is that how it goes?
You should work for the prize. Yes.
I'm on the market.
Published in the US or Canada. Exactly. Yeah. It was to really address, again, coming out of the data, the market here in Canada and the US. I just wanted to mention as well that the prize itself is for excellence in fiction. So that's really what it, you know, in terms of what we're looking for, it's excellence in fiction, in writing. Yeah.
And translated fiction is also eligible, which is unlike most other literary prizes that I know, unless it is a prize for translated literature. So that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Money talks, but it feels perhaps a little bit strange to be talking about how big the prize purse is, but it's huge. It's $150,000 Canadian, which is about 110,000, something like that in America, in American dollars.
It's actually 150,000 US dollars, Shawn. It's even bigger.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. Geez,
yeah.
I wish I'd written a book. Oh, no, I couldn't, not eligible. Fantastic. That's fantastic. I assumed it was Canadian. Yeah. Okay. It is one of the biggest, as far as I'm aware, it is the biggest literary prize in the West. That's just absolutely fantastic. So tell us about the decision to go so big, so epic.
Yeah, the $150,000 US prize purse goes to the winner, and there are 4 finalists. Each of them will get $12,500 US dollars as a prize, which is fantastic. And yeah, why so big? Because we actually just want to underscore, first of all, how important this work is and to achieve some equity, right? So some of this is around the data that will show that women writers earn less than men. And so part of what we want to address is the economic issue, right? So I love that this prize will actually support someone, you know, to give them a chance to write. That's you know, so it's addressing that economic inequality is part of it. But also, Shawn, like really just to underscore the importance that writing by women and non-binary writers matters. That's really the bottom line.
Well, I regularly say on my channel that I think the way I said it just the other day was, didn't some famous writer, wasn't maybe named Jane, said it's a truth universally acknowledged that women write better than men anyway. So let's just carry on.
Oh boy.
I said it, you didn't have to. Yeah, I just think that is so fantastic. I'm in love with that aspect of it, that you're going so big and the reasons for going so big. It's just
Yeah.
it's revolutionary and just addressing a historical injustice in the literary world.
Absolutely. It's about smashing the barriers, Shawn. That's
Yeah.
about inclusion. Yeah, and I guess a final point is Susan Swan, one of our co-founders. She thinks big, and I love that. She this really mattered to her that it was going to be a significant prize. So, I mean, I think it matters to all the co-founders, but Susan in particular thinks big, which is fantastic.
Your fundraising has been extraordinary. Would you like me to mention that there's a donate button on your webpage?
I would love that.
Okay. So any of you rich viewers who are supporting me on Patreon, you should also be supporting this Carol Shields Prize for Fiction, and there's a donate button on the website. So don't take it out of what you're giving me, but please support the prize.
Thank you, Shawn. That would be lovely.
So you people, the Carol Shields Foundation, decided that non-binary writers would be eligible, and that seemed like such an easy decision to make that hasn't been necessarily easy elsewhere in the literary world. So can you tell us a bit about that? It's another thing that I absolutely love about this prize.
That's great. I'm glad that you do. The Carol Shields Prize Foundation, well, we're about inclusion, and I think that really is what it boils down to, Shawn, is just it's inclusion. So women and non-binary writers are both included. They've both experienced barriers in the literary world and in publishing. So it's trying to remove those barriers for as wide a group of people as possible. That's what it's all about.
And it's that easy.
Yeah, it is that simple.
I don't know why other places have struggled with it, but it's that easy and that important. And the other thing that I love about it is that, of course, trans women are eligible because trans women are women, and it don't even need to be mentioned. Of course, they are eligible, and non-binary writers. And that's just very important to me and to many readers I know. So that's
Great.
Fantastic. You have assembled a fantastic jury.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little bit about how the jurors were chosen, but I'm especially interested in you just telling us who they are, because what a fabulous group of people.
They are a fabulous group. So I guess I'll start at how they got assembled, and just in broad strokes, I can say that we have at the prize a fantastic authors committee who has been guiding the prize. The authors committee is led by Miriam Chancy and Charlotte Gray, two unbelievably talented writers and exceptionally smart women. And they and the committee of 8 others have spent, I guess, a couple of years now advising the prize, and one of their roles is also to nominate the jury members. So that's kind of how it came to be. And the jury that we've been working with for the past almost a year now is Crystal Wilkinson, who's actually Kentucky's poet laureate. So someone to look up. Her poetry makes my hairs stand up on end. So yeah.
And you have a lot of hair, so that's saying a lot.
Monique Truong, she's based in New York State, and again, a fabulous writer. A little thing about Monique is she's also a librettist. I come from the performing arts world, so I love that she has that, that piece. She has a website you can check out. Merilyn Simonds, who's based in Kingston. Check out her website too. She has a book out this year, nonfiction book. And Katherena Vermette and Anita Badami. Yeah.
And those last two are some of my most favorite writers, Canadian or otherwise. Yes.
Yeah. A really amazing group, smart, and have been, so diligent and fantastic. I can't say enough about them. They're an incredible group of women. And I just want to shout out and say thank you to the 5 of them because of the work that they've done. And thank you also to that amazing authors committee who's gotten everything rolling.
How many books did they end up considering to get down to the 15 for the long list, approximately?
More than 250 books. So a large stack of books. Yeah.
Great. I think we're getting to the end here. Oh, in fact, that's basically it. So what I'd like to ask, if it's not a curveball at the end of this chat,
Alex,
is tell us about a good book you've read recently.
Oh boy, I have a good answer for that because my book club recently read a book by Carol Shields called Unless, which was the last book that she wrote. And we had a great discussion back at the end of January with my book club. Obviously, I have a stack of 15 books on my bedside table, Shawn, that I have to get to. And I'm really excited to be delving into the 15 books on the long list. So, but it has been fun to bring Carol Shields to my book club and have a great chat about some of her work as well.
My two favorite Carol Shields books are her short story collection, Various Miracles. The first story, I think it's the first story about Mrs. Turner mowing the grass, and that one just has always stuck with me.
Yeah.
Orange Fish was also a fabulous short story collection, but there's something really special about Various Miracles. Yeah. And then, is it the Stone Diaries? No, Stone.
Yeah. Stone Diaries. The Stone Diaries. Yeah.
The Stone Diaries. Her Pulitzer Prize-winning one also was just incredible. Yeah. So,
and the Stone Diaries has actually just been reissued in Canada by their publisher. Yeah.
I have a strong memory of how the Stone Diaries came into my life because I was a grad student in Toronto and I was not enjoying it at all. And I was reading all this literary theory and I didn't have any time to read fiction unless it was on a course list. And I just rebelled one day and I went down the street to This Ain't the Rosedale Library bookstore, may it rest in peace, and picked up Carol Shields' The Stone Diaries and spent the next few days sinking into it. So yes, it's a special memory.
Daisy, the wonderful Daisy. Yeah. The birth to death story of Daisy. It's fantastic. Yeah.
With the photos.
Yeah.
I hope that people watching this will go on a similar luxurious reading journey with any number of the books on the long list, which I will be talking about at the end of this video.
And just one final thing I'd love to say, Shawn, if I could, which is that we just want everyone watching this video, watching on YouTube, to go and read these 15 books, to read books by women and non-binary writers. That's what we want you to do. So that's my final shout out for the prize and what our aim is. We want people to get reading, buy these books, head to your bookstore, get an ebook, go to your library and read these books.
Great. I have one ebook from the library already since the long list came out, and going to pick up a hardback of the Emma Hooper this afternoon.
So. Good. Excellent. I know. I love my library. Shawn, can I say one other thing that I missed as sort of like a key point that I wanted to just quickly mention? Is that all right?
Absolutely.
So I just wanted to mention that the prize is actually more than a prize, and that we are working on about 11 different mentorships and scholarships and residencies that will support women and non-binary writers. So just another way that we'll be able to support a wide group of people in their writing. So I wanted to make sure there were, stay tuned, as they say, Shawn, more coming on that.
Great. Well, I'd love to have you back to talk more about that when the details are, when the time is right.
Great.
Alex, this has been an absolute delight. Thank you for giving so much of your time.
Thank you so much, Shawn. It's been a pleasure.
All right. So I want to tell you very briefly about the 15 books on the inaugural long list for the Carol Shields Prize for Fiction. It's a really impressive, interesting list. A lot of books and authors I'd never heard of, many of which I look forward to reading. So I'm just going to say a sentence or two about each. Going to put the whole list in the show notes and would love for you to have at it and look them all up and decide which ones you need to read. I think we all need to probably read all of them, don't we? The first one on the list is Brown Girls by Daphne, Palasi, Andreades. Andreades' fiction often explores diaspora, immigration, colonialism, and imperialism. Sounds fabulous. Next is a debut novel, I believe, from a non-binary writer, When We Were Sisters by Fatimah Asghar. They have previously written works of poetry, and I know Lindy of Lindy's Magpie Reads is a big fan of their poetry. And this is about 3 orphaned siblings who immigrate from South Asia to America, and soon thereafter their parents both die. It's quite an autobiographical novel from what I gather. Next is a short story collection that continues with themes and characters that have been in this author's fiction for the last couple decades, as far as I understand. Andrea Barrett's Natural History. She herself, I believe, is a scientist and writes about scientists, particularly the challenges facing female scientists. She has lived in New York and Massachusetts and now in the Adirondacks, which I had to Google. Where would that be? American geography is not my strong suit. Next, a novel by the Asian American writer Hsiao Chen. Activities of Daily Living. She was born in Taipei and lives in New York City. Next, I'm not going to give too much by the way of reaction to these because I don't want to make the video too long, but I'm definitely excited about this one because this is an indigenous author that I have never heard of, who comes from my part of what is now colonially termed Canada. And the story collection is God Isn't Here Today, which is a fabulous title, and the author is Francine Cunningham. Lives in Alberta, has, I think, been based in British Columbia before. Next, a debut novel from a writer whose short story collection is of particular interest to me. I've only read one story from that collection, loved it, want to read the whole collection, and here is her novel. She is Kelly Fajardo-Anstine, and the novel is called Woman of Light, and it is about, I'm using the words from her own website, she describes it as being about Chicano Americans of indigenous descent. Next is a graphic novel about God. Let There Be Light, appropriate title, by Liana Finck, who is a graphic comic artist, graphic writer. She writes graphic books. A feminist retelling of the book of Genesis. What more do you need to know? Emma Hooper is a Canadian writer who now lives in the UK, and every book she has written, this I believe is her third, but I could be wrong, is completely different than the one before. This one is set in ancient Rome, a historical novel. We should not be afraid of the sky. That one, I'm picking up my paper copy from the library in about an hour. Here is the most curiously titled. This short story collection is called Thank You, Mr. Nixon. Oh, really? Okay. By the Asian American writer Gish Chen. And it is, these short stories are about the interactions between the two countries and characters from the two countries. Next, the Vancouver-born writer Shalene Knight and her novel Junie, Mother-Daughter Relationships in Vancouver. Here is one that they're all animal characters, and these are short stories called What We Fed to the Manticore by Talia Lakshmi Koluri. Oh, this is one, Lindy gave me a copy of this book and I'm dying to get to it, and now I have a good excuse. This is the Tibetan novel by the Tibetan-Canadian novelist We Measure the Earth with Our Bodies by Tsering Yangzom Lama. Can't wait to get to this one. I am actually about halfway through reading The Sleeping Car Porter by Suzette Mayer. It won the Giller Prize last year, deservedly so. Based on how passionate I feel about it at the halfway point, I think it's designed to be a Shawn the Book Maniac Canadian classic. Like I can't think of any novel I've read from Canada that is better than this. It's about a gay black train porter. And I forget which era, about 1930 or something. It's just incredible. This novel is called Elsewhere by Alexis Shaitkin, and it is kind of a speculative tale about a community where a certain percentage of the mothers just disappear and no one really knows where they go. They go elsewhere, I guess. And the last one on the list is by the Zambian writer who lives in America. I believe that's how she refers to herself. The Furrows by Namwali Serpell. It is maybe her third novel, I'm not sure. Her debut novel was The Old Drift, and then she had a nonfiction book, Stranger Faces. This is her second novel, I guess. A surreal meditation on identity and mourning. Well, I think it's a really fantastic list. Which of these might you be most interested in trying first? And if you aren't going to read them all, I need a really good reason. I'm being silly, but I think I'm really excited about the Carol Shields Prize for Fiction, and I'm really impressed with the inaugural 2023 Longlist. That's all. Thanks for watching.